What's up YouTube? So we back with another tutorial, and today we're going to execute a mid taper without the C cups. And just to give you guys a quick preview of what the haircut's going to look like, I'm going to take my dog from that to this. So as you can see, a very high quality haircut, but we're going to show you how to achieve that in a simple and a repeatable process. So the first thing I always like to do, regardless of what haircut they want, regardless of the hair texture of the client, is just to prep the client for the haircut. And this is where you're combing through the hair, lifting the hair up off the scalp, getting an idea of what the client wants, how their hair texture is, their growth patterns, and their head shape. And all these things will help you achieve the right haircut for that client. And continuing our prep phase, we're setting in our initial guidelines. And I like to do this to make sure everything is balanced, so when we start fading, we can just be in flow state. We don't have to keep going back and referencing things because we already put the foundation in place. And so to achieve a nice balanced guideline, I like to look from the front of the client and try to, you see my finger, I kind of drag that guideline across his forehead to visually to show myself where it lines up on the other side. And to achieve duplicatable haircuts and consistent haircuts, it's all about angles and reference points. So you always want to make sure you're using the same references and using the right angles and techniques to achieve high quality haircuts. So now we're setting in our back taper. For his head shape, I wanted to do a nice guideline right in the middle of that taper area, so it's not too low, but also it's not too high, keeping it below that occipital bone. And all that is that bone protruding out in the back that you can see a little bit. And this style craft trimmer is not super sharp. That's why I'm putting in my guidelines with that, because you don't want to be fighting a harsh bald line and gradually bringing your fade higher and higher because you're trying to chase a sharp bald line. And here I'm just cleaning up the front area where I'm going to line up the hair. I don't want any hairs overhanging that lineup once we knock that in. And this is all just part of my prep. So now we're continuing to just debulk the fade area. This is where we transition from prepping everything to now we're executing our fade. So I'm debulking this fade area, still debulking a little bit of that lineup area with the 1.5 guard. Today we're going to execute the 2 guard system. So we'll use the 0.5 guard and the 1.5 guard. And to start out, we just have the lever fully open. And we're not going up too high. We want to make sure we leave space to have a nice dark vertical bar. So we're going up about 1 centimeter with that lever open. And then after that, we'll close it all the way up. And we'll go from that initial guideline to the middle of that panel. And notice how I'm angling. And then we'll open it up halfway and go from halfway to the top of that panel. But just take note of how I'm using my angles and my corners to fade out that bottom line. Now we're moving on to our 1.5 guard. So now we're going to debulk this top area into that panel we created with the lever open. So currently we have it fully open. And as we close the lever halfway and fully close, we're going to go a little bit lower into that fading area. And still stay consistent with using your angling your clipper and using your front few teeth. And it's okay to smooth down as well, again, that fading area. And I'm gonna say it every video, all a fade is a transition from light to dark, so you do not have to overthink that process at all. And we just threw on that 0.5 guard, and this is the last guard that we will use. And we're starting fully open, and we're going a little bit lower into that fading area than we did with that 1.5 closed. And we'll go the same way with this guard. halfway, then fully close until we come to that bottom of the panel that we set in with our lever open. And I always want you guys to just take note of how simple my process is to achieve a great haircut. You don't have to overthink and try to throw on a bunch of guards and do all these cool tricks and stuff like that you might see on Instagram. That's not what's really going on behind the chair. When you're spending hours behind the chair, you're giving good quality haircuts to multiple clients in a day. You want to have systems. You don't want to have to overthink your haircuts. And you don't want these super complicated techniques and tricks and all these things. It's going to drain you by the time that you're towards the end of your day. Because not only are we cutting hair, we're maintaining our schedule, we're answering phone calls from clients who have upcoming appointments or maybe people trying to book with us. On top of that, we're trying to have conversations with our clients and get them a good experience. So with all these things going on, if you have a super complicated haircutting process where you gotta keep going back and forth between guards and keep skipping around and then do this and do that, I think that's ultimately going to be very draining for your mental capacity and just physically. So that's why I always like to preach to you guys having a simple and efficient haircutting system. If you don't even take my technique, just find someone who is breaking it down for you with an efficient and simple system that you can go and execute on any hair texture, on any hairstyle, any head shape. So, but at the same time, I do appreciate you guys for tuning in each and every week. So on the back taper, we're doing the exact same thing. I'm still keeping that panel that we set with the lever open right underneath that occipital bone area. And this is because I don't want it to be too high. So the same thing with our 0.5 guard. We're just naturally fading down that bulk area right under the occipital bone down to where we have the lever open. And I think you guys can see much better from this angle. Just how I'm angling my clipper, I'm going with the growth of the hair. And that's to achieve a nice and even cut. Not everybody's hair grows straight up and down. A lot of people's tapers and back tapers tend to grow sideways actually, so you want to make sure you're going right against the grain of that hair growth. Also take note of how I'm being very light and gentle with the clipper. I'm not digging into the client's scalp. It's a nice and comfortable haircut for the client as well. That's something you want to be mindful, not only for the quality of your haircuts, but also for the client's comfort. Now we're moving on to our lineup process. Each and every video you will see me preach keeping the client's line at its fullest state. This is because not only will your client be satisfied, their haircuts will last longer and it will be much less work for you to do once you have a regular client that comes, say, every week or every 2 weeks. I have a lot of clients who come every week and they don't have any complaint about being pushed back or anything like that. That's because I always try to not only use reference points, but keep the line at its fullest, most natural state. And that's why you might have some clients who think that if they come on a recurring basis or a frequent basis that their line will be pushed back, but that's not true. As long as we're using the same references, keeping the line at its fullest state, we won't have to push a client back no matter how much times they come. And these cocos are actually a trimmer that I adjusted from one of my clients. He said that was too sharp, but man, the blade is hitting on these. It got me thinking about ordering another blade for my cocos. I don't even know if they still make those blades though, actually, because I know something happened with him and that brand, so I might look them up. But I won't lie, these cocos are definitely hitting right now. And take your time while you're trying to execute that line around the ear. It can be easy to accidentally go up too high, but just take your time in that area specifically. So that's a nice and clean back taper. And now we move to the front line. So you can see he has a weaker spot in the middle of his lineup area, so I want to be mindful of that. And today we're going to do the OG method, where we start out with the vertical bars. This method is very good, especially on someone who's not getting the C cup, so you know exactly where you need to go when you put that top line. So like I said, references are important. We're going to match up the vertical bars by looking at the eyebrow or the end of the eyeball, whatever one works best for you. And we're going to put a slight angle on there, so when the client looks straight, their lineup looks straight. Sometimes if you try to make this line straight, when the client looks straight, it will actually look slanted out. So I'm showing you how I'm going to work off that weak spot. I'm going to go right there, and I'm not going to be afraid to, it's going to be a little bit of push back, but it's a professional push back, because I'm starting at that weak spot where I can achieve a nice and straight line, and you really can't even tell because I did that. Now, if you was trying to be too cautious, I know that's sometimes you got to find that balance between being too cautious but also digging back too much. It's a balance in between the two. A lineup should be a professional pushback, not a actual unprofessional pushback. That's what clients get frustrated about. So clients know you're cutting hair, so obviously some hair is going to get cut off. So don't be scared to, if it's a light spot, to work off that light spot, but at the same time keeping it full as well. So we're meeting that top line in that vertical bar right at a sharp point, and we're taking our time here. And the reason we did start with that vertical bar is so when we do that and then we place our top line, all we got to do is walk that top line very patiently to that corner. And I'm just visually checking my mirror. And you see on that right side, he actually has a little light area right there, but I didn't need to go back into there, because once you place your line, it'll appear to be darker than what it actually is. So sometimes you might look at a light spot and think it's a weaker light spot, but if you just kind of ghost that line, that light spot will not appear as light as it actually is. I hope I'm making sense to you guys. And notice how even when I'm tapping my trimmer, I'm being light. I'm not digging into the client's scalp. I don't want to nick the client with the trimmer or leave any burn marks or anything like that. So I try to be very light. Even with the razor, this should be a haircut should be comfortable for the client. There shouldn't be no heavy-handedness and digging into the client's skin and all that type of stuff. So when I'm executing my razor, I'm just stretching the skin, and I'm trying to, same way with the lineup, leave everything at its fullest most point. Especially with the beard, sometimes you want to consultate with the client, because not everyone wants their beard at the highest point. Some people want to bring their beard line down. So you just want to know what the client is looking for when it comes to that. But just stretch the skin and glide that razor at a 30-degree angle. So I did the same thing on the other side, but I was kind of blocking, so I did cut the other side out. But this is all part of our detail work now. The razor was part of our detail work, and now we're just checking our tapers and making sure there's no dark spots that we need to clean up, and just tying everything fully together. So YouTube, that's the mid taper tutorial. I hope this was a good visual breakdown for you guys, especially if you're a beginner barber. We like to make simple and efficient haircut tutorials, so if that's something you're looking for, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and I appreciate you.